वेलकम टू प्रिंस शॉर्टेड हाउस। स्टूडेंट्स, हम यूट्यूब चैनल पर आपको डेली डिक्टेट करते हैं और हमारे यूट्यूब चैनल पे डिक्टेशन 60, 80, 100, 120, 140, 160, 180 और कुछ एक दो डिक्टेशन हमारी 200 तक भी हमने डाल रखी है। तो जिस लेवल पे आप हैं उस लेवल पे प्रैक्टिस कीजिए। एक आज जो हमारी डिक्टेशन है एक्सरसाइज नंबर 13 एंड 14 प्रोग्रेसिव सितंबर 2021, और इसे लिखने से पहले सिर्फ मेरे एक बात ध्यान रखिए कि आपका लेवल कहीं भी आपकी 120 की स्पीड है, 100 की है, 80 की है, या 140 की है, 160 की है। मैं अपने एक्सपीरियंस से आपको बता रहा हूँ कि आपको कुछ चीज़ें बेसिक्स की जो है वो अभी नहीं छोड़नी है। कुछ बच्चे शिकायत करते हैं कि भाई हमारी 80 की स्पीड नहीं हो रही, लगातार प्रैक्टिस करते हैं। कुछ कहते हैं हमारी 100 की स्पीड नहीं हो रही, गलतियाँ ज़्यादा होती हैं। तो मेन कारण वही होता है कि जो बेसिक्स की कुछ चीज़ें हैं वो अभी उनको प्रैक्टिस करनी चाहिए, जिसकी वजह से कुछ ऐसे वर्ड में कन्फ्यूज़न होता है, आउटलाइन नहीं बन पाती, नहीं लिख पाते हैं, जिसकी वजह से वो थोड़ा सा हताश हो जाते हैं। लेकिन मैं 2-3 बार मैंने वीडियोस में डाला है और मैं आज फिर बता रहा हूँ जो स्टूडेंट हमारे साथ नए जुड़े हैं कि हमारी जैसे हमने पिटमैन न्यूमरल से हमने कराई है शॉर्ट हैंड, और इसका चैप्टर कंपाउंड कॉन्सोनेंट पेज नंबर 116, 117 ये वर्ड्स और जो आपको दिखाई दे रहा हो। इसके बाद आपको चैप्टर मिलेगा कॉन्टिन्यू, वही कंपाउंड WHL और WL और H के एक्स्ट्रा रूल्स, और कंटिन्यू आप पढ़ते रहिए, रूल पढ़ते रहिए। ये वर्ड आपको डेली करने हैं जिससे आपको डिक्टेशन मुश्किल नहीं लगेगी किसी भी लेवल की। मेरा अपना एक्सपीरियंस है कि किसी भी लेवल की डिक्टेशन मुश्किल तब नहीं लगेगी तब आप इनको रेगुलर प्रैक्टिस में रखोगे, लास्ट तक की एक्सरसाइजेस को, रूल्स को पढ़ते हुए। तो जैसा आपको पता है कि डिक्टेशन हमारी ये 13 और 14 डल चुके, 80 वर्ड से मिनट, उसको बड़े ध्यान से पहले 4-5 बार लिखिए, और अब मैं 100 वर्ड से मिनट दे रहा हूँ, इसको आप रेगुलर लिखिए, 4-5 बार लिखिए, रिपीट कीजिए डे बाय डे रिपीट बैक वाले एक्सरसाइज कीजिए। तो हम स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं एक्सरसाइज नंबर 13 एंड 14। बी रेडी, 100 वर्ड से मिनट स्टार्ट। In the judgment, it is seen that the Supreme Court held it is the distributor who can refer the matter to arbitration and not the respondent, and as such set aside the judgment of the High Court appointing the arbitrator. The issue before the Supreme Court was not with regard to whether there is any arbitration clause, but who can invoke the arbitration clause. This judgment is not applicable to the facts of this case. Having considered the judgments referred to by the learned counsel for the parties, this court is of the view that the issue in the case in hand is squarely covered by the judgment of the Supreme Court in the case of INDTEL Technical Services Private Limited, as followed in IREST 1 Elevator Guide Rail Manufacture Company Limited, inasmuch as from the perusal of Article 28 of the judgment, it is clear that the petitioner has an option either to get the disputes or claims or differences adjudicated through the jurisdiction of the court or by way of arbitration in accordance with the provisions of the Act of 1996. The fact that the petitioner has filed this petition, it must be held that it intends to get the disputes settled through the process of arbitration. It is also not the case of the respondent, either him or the petitioner had earlier invoked the jurisdiction of a civil court. I also find from subclause 2 of Article 28 the intention of the parties is to refer the disputes to the arbitrator with regard to any dispute concerning accounting matters, and one of the claims of the petitioner is of non-payment of management fees, which is in accounting issue. The objection raised by the learned counsel on the maintainability of the petition is liable to be rejected. The next issue which arises for consideration is whether the respondent has terminated the agreement during the lock-in period. To answer this issue, it is necessary to determine from which date the lock-in period has started or kicked in. According to the learned counsel, Article 26 of the agreement prescribes the term of agreement to be initially for 15 years starting from the opening date, renewable for another 10 years, with the first 5 years of the said term to be mandatory lock-in period of 5 years, which would thus commensurate with the starting of the term of 15 years. So according to him, the opening date being of July 2017, the mandatory 5 years lock-in period has started from July 2017. In effect, he argued that the effective date has not been defined in the definition clauses under Schedule 1. According to him, the word effective date mentioned in subclause 3 of Article 24 has to be necessarily read with earlier part of the same article, that is first 5 years of the terms of the contract. Hence, the effective date has to be read as the opening date, since the term starts from the opening date. I am not in agreement with this submission made by Mr. Dutt. The date of the execution of the agreement, that is May 15, 2015, has been defined as the effective date, and subclause 3 of Article 24 stipulated the lock-in period to be 5 years from the effective date, that is May 15, 2015. No doubt, Schedule 1 of the agreement, which defines words mentioned in the agreement, includes opening date to mean the date of commencement of the operation of the hotel for the purpose of receiving guests, to be determined in accordance with Article 4 of this contract. But the submission of learned counsel that the agreement prescribes two dates, that is effective date and opening date, for the reason that since the hotel had to be constructed before being operational, and the petitioner having the necessary expertise and in terms of recitals 3, 4, 5 and 6 read with Article 2, required to provide professional advice regarding architecture, engineering, interior designing, furnishing, etc. from the effective date for which the petitioner was paid rupees 15 lakhs by the respondent for pre-opening services in consideration of the management fee promised to be paid by the owner, is appealing. In substance, the plea of learned counsel is, as certain obligations have been imposed on the petitioner to be performed during the construction of the hotel, which started immediately and continued till the hotel became operational. The lock-in period was stipulated from the effective date. In fact, I find it is the case of the petitioner itself in para 19 of the petition that it had expended considerable time and resources in giving technical inputs, detailing and designing inputs, which the petitioner has acquired over a period of time towards the construction and execution of works in the hotel. It is also stated by the petitioner that the petitioner's technical interest and experience in the field was one of the key factors in signing the agreement for letting the hotel to be managed by the appellant party in this petitioner case. Next paragraph says number 14. May I say a word here about the population of India? A great deal has been said and written about our tremendous population and how it overwhelms us and how we cannot solve any problem till the Indian population is checked or decimated. Well, I have no desire for the population of India to go on increasing. I am all in favor of the population being checked, but I think there is a great misapprehension when so much stress is laid on this aspect. I entirely disagree with that. I think India is an underpopulated country, and I say this not because I want it to be much more populated. It is underpopulated because I want it to be much more populated. It is underpopulated because large tracts of India are still unpopulated. It is true that if you go to the Gangetic plain, it is thickly populated. Parts of India are thickly populated, but many parts are not populated at all. A delegate to this conference told me last night that coming from Karachi to Delhi, Madras and then to Octam Count, he was amazed to see the scarcity of population. Of course, he was traveling by plane, nevertheless the whole countryside appeared to him to be sparsely populated, and after all, it is possible to judge whether the country is heavily populated or not. That is a very correct impression because large tracts are not populated. We are overpopulated, if you like, because our productive capacity is low. If we increase our production, agriculture and other, and if the population is put to work for population, then we are not overpopulated. We have these big river valley schemes which in association irrigating land, preventing floods, soil erosion and malaria will produce a very great deal of hydroelectric power, and at the same time we will have industrial development. If you look at the map of India, you will see the noble range of the Himalayas from the north to the northeast. I do not think there is any part of the world similar in area which has so much concentrated power, latent potential power, if only it can be tapped and used. Well, we intend tapping and using it, but my point is that not only India but the whole of this Asian region is full of vast resources, human and material, and the question before us is how to hold them together and produce results. Apart from increasing production in this way, I think it is important for us to utilize our existing resources better. I do not think they are being utilized to the best advantage. We can get more out of what we have than we have been doing. That involves in India as in the rest of Asia many problems: the economic system, the relation of capital and labor, and the satisfaction of labor. There is no doubt at all that in all, or at any rate in most of these Asian countries, there are long-standing social injustices, and naturally where there are these social injustices, you will not get proper and satisfactory work, especially now when there is an acute sense of social wrong and social justice. I have no doubt that in India, our production has suffered because of this acute feeling of social injustice. An individual or a community may undertake to shoulder almost any burden. We have seen during the last war how nations put up with the most enormous burdens in the shape of suffering and sacrifice, but always when there is a sense of sharing the burden inequitably, the burden being greater on some than on others, the sense of injustice becomes greater, and you do not have that harmonious working and cooperation which is quite essential today, more so that in the past. Therefore, this problem has to be viewed from the human point of view, quite apart from a purely economic point of view. If one does view it from that human point of view, if one tries to cooperate without entering into a long argument, I think one can go far in solving it and getting the measure of cooperation even among people who may hold different theories. So, I would beg this commission to consider this problem from the human point of view of removing social injustices. The commission, of course, is not going to dictate to each individual country about its economic structure, but any advice from the commission will no doubt go a long way, and most countries will probably follow it in the largest measures they can. Now, to repeat what I have said, I hope this commission will bear in mind the fact that we are dealing with hundreds of millions of human beings and not abstract countries and abstract groups. Each individual is a member of a family with children who are possibly starving, who have possibly had no education and no opportunity for growth and advancement. I mentioned right at the beginning certain parts of Asia which have not completely solved their political problems. Stop. Thank you, students.